Interest rates kept on hold at 5.25%, but only just. The Bank of England is split. 4 members of its powerful committee wanted more hikes, while the governor led a surprise swing to stop interest rates rising a 15th time in a row. A divided Bank of England is very unusual. We've only seen a deep-rooted split like this once since the financial crisis 15 years ago. And it just goes to show even the Bank of England is not sure how to tackle inflation. And while interest rates have been put on hold today, there's no guarantee that the problems of the British economy have been solved.
The job's not done yet. We can't be complacent about this. Our job is to get inflation back down to the 2% target and to sustain it there. I can tell you that we have not had any discussion on the Monetary Policy Committee about reducing rates because that would be very, very premature.
The governor knows that getting the economic mix right is critical for small businesses, like this one. Like for so many, higher borrowing costs have added to the squeeze from inflation. So is the pause in policy a taste of better things to come? Do you feel like that means they're listening to small businesses like yours?
The cost of borrowing will fall, hopefully, and for us, really, it's about what our customers are feeling and making sure that they feel they can afford the treats that they deserve to eat. Being on hold is fantastic, but if they want to reduce them, we wouldn't be mad at that either.
Based in North London, No Guilt Bakes is the brainchild of 2 cousins with fathers who are diabetic. Their cakes are no sugar and no gluten and designed to be healthier. But while today's decision is welcome, No Guilt is still struggling with price rises across the business. But what's worse, Teo? Is inflation worse or are higher interest rates worse?
What a question. It's a two-pronged, it really isn't either or, it's both. Really, you have, as a small business with the sort of customers we serve, inflation is a nightmare for us.
What ingredient has gone up the most?
Eggs, definitely. And you can't have a cake without eggs. But the cost of eggs has pretty much doubled for us in the time that we've been running. So it's difficult, but luckily we've managed to not pass on too much of the cost to our customers, but it is tough for a small business.
Have you raised prices for your customers?
A tiny, tiny bit, but not compared to, the kind of inflation they're seeing
We
other
haven't
places.
doubled the cost of our cakes.
But at the Bank of England, 4 of its prominent members are still worried that this kind of inflation is yet to be tamed. That means the picture for interest rates remains volatile, with businesses and homeowners not out the woods.
Let's look at where we are in the bigger picture, because somebody coming up to remortgage their house today is looking at paying £220 more a month than they would have done if they had have remortgaged a year ago. So this is still a very challenging time for families and businesses with the cost of living crisis, which continues to bite.
Some of the high street banks have already reduced their mortgage deals, offering some respite to homeowners. But Britain is stuck somewhere between inflation and slow growth, with policymakers at loggerheads about what their next move should be. And while markets were soothed that we've reached peak rates, it may now mean the bank has to keep them there for longer to keep inflation under control.
And there was more encouraging news for the government this morning, with figures showing they'd borrowed less in August than predicted. Well, Helia is in our London newsroom now for us. Helia.
Oh, well, Kieran, the Chancellor may feel that Christmas has actually come in early. First, you've got today's pause in interest rates will be very helpful for cheering up the Tory base. It comes on the back of yesterday's news that inflation is slowing. That's a big political fillip, given the Prime Minister's promise to halve inflation. But there's also a better picture on the public finances, as you said. Government borrowing is £11 billion lower than expected, all because forecasters have again underestimated how much tax is coming into the UK. That leaves the tantalising prospect of spending that extra cash in the budget, a rather helpful political move before an election. But Kieran, in the Chancellor's letter to Andrew Bailey today, we saw a warning that extra spending would be inflationary. Of course, a lot could change before next spring, both in the economy and in the world of politics.
Helia, thank you for that analysis. Helia Ebrahimi there.